slow to slow. You get excited, okay? You try to overdo it. I'd rather see it slow it down, get it right. Pick it up, the speed of my run left, and then we'll get it smooth in. Yeah.
As the fight scene continues to grow here in Western New York, we're going to look at a couple of professional fighters that live right here in Niagara Falls. Both Tommy Huff and Demario Crittenden are professional fighters, and we're going to take a look at their training facilities, get a little inside background on what it's like to be a professional fighter starting off in a young career, and we're going to look at their futures and what their trainers have to say about that. You don't want to miss that and more on CC Sports On Location. I'm sitting here with Tommy Huff, a professional fighter from Niagara Falls, New York. And Tommy, one of the first questions I have as a pretty promising 19-4 amateur start. Tell me, why did you decide to turn pro, and so far has it been worth it?
I decided to turn pro mainly not because amateur was getting too easy, but I needed something more challenging, something. It was about that time where I could step up and start earning a little bit of money and pretty much just go for the bigger fish,
What is the hardest transition from amateur to pro? Obviously, headgear would probably be number one, but what do you see as the toughest challenge?
The change of pace for it. Amateurs, there's a lot more speedy fighters. They just come out there and just throw for the first 2 minutes. Now it's a longer round, so you got to come out there and set a slower pace and kind of pick your punches. So adjusting to that was probably the biggest thing for me.
How about strength? Is it stronger in the professionals, or you didn't find that much of a challenge?
No. I have stronger guys, even though, I did take that shot in that first fight. A lot of stronger guys were in the amateurs.
Would you consider yourself a power puncher or speed, or a combination of both? Hurricane sounds like both, so you tell me.
Mainly I'd have to say power. A lot of guys don't expect me, being a small guy, they don't expect me to come through with some power. But then when I connect just right, it seems to come through good. Obviously,
it's tough for you to find fights, obviously, in the professional ranks. Explain your daily routine. How do you prepare for a fight, upcoming fights, and just give us a little overall view of what a professional fighter goes through on a weekly basis. Some stuff you don't see on the camera when you don't fight.
Well, usually I wake up, depending on how I feel, I'll wake up and run, or run right before I go to bed. But running, for me, it changes. Sometimes I run a quick 2 miles, sometimes a slower paced 5 or 6 mile run. And sometimes I'll rollerblade for a good 10, 15 miles. It depends, what I feel like that day. Then when I come up to the gym, I start out shadow boxing, warming up, and I go 3 or 4 rounds, sometimes 5 on a heavy bag. Then I go 3 or 4 rounds on a speed bag, and then go to jump roping, and then work on my stomach exercises.
Sounds like a lot of work over here. Well, we all hear boxing with these multi-million-dollar contracts, Don King and stuff. What can an amateur/professional fighter expect to make fighting? I mean, so it's just turning pro and starting out. What can they expect to make?
It's definitely not that when you start out. You start out making $400 or $500 a fight. Luckily, I stepped up to $750, which is, I think, pretty good for a 4-round fight. 12 minutes of work. I mean, yeah, you put in all that hard work for it and everything, training, but it's nothing but good for you,
Definitely.
But like you said, it can go anywhere up to millions, 20 million, 15 million a fight, depending on how popular you are.
Do you have a promoter now?
Really, I just signed with Orion, and that's kind of a promotions company that's just starting out, and we're working with them right now, so they're going to be the ones who are getting me all the fights that I start to get from now on.
Well, 20-5, an overall good record so far, starting out overall, but you just turned pro. Tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years in this sport? Is it a longevity sport? Does it take a long time to reach the top? Obviously, you're starting at the bottom of the mountain. Tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, working with the stuff that I have, you can see what I got here, not much. And with the connection that I got, which, like the, training stuff, it's not much, so. In about 5 years, hopefully I'll be ranked by then. If I get some kind of shot at some kind of title, that'd be great, but it's a lot of hard work and it's a long way down the road, so.
Tell me the toughest obstacle training here. Obviously, you don't have the top-notch facilities like some of the young amateur boxers, or just tell me some of the obstacles you face in here every day that you would like to see better, or do you like sparring partners or better equipment? Tell me what you think you would need to make you a better boxer.
Mainly just a wider variety of sparring partners. Here we don't have too much that come around, so if we can get a lot of different guys, a lot of different styles, that would definitely help me out a lot.
How do you gauge the Western New York fight scene? I think it's growing in the last couple of years with Joe Macy and some of the amateur fighters like you and Demario Quinton. Tell me, where do you gauge Niagara Falls or Western New York as a fight town? And basically tell me, where do you see it? Is it growing, or is it declining, or is it just going to stay the same?
It's definitely a sport that the people around here like a lot. And I could see it personally, I could see it jumping up a lot within the next couple of years. You know, if we get a couple more good fighters out there, just bring the shows around and the people that go to them. It'll definitely be a money-making sport around here.
And my final question for you, Tommy, is boxing looks like a vicious sport. You see how boxing is. A lot of people, some die. It's a rough, very vicious sport. Would you recommend this to kids? Is this something that, children should, say, I want to be a boxer, and would you encourage their parents to get involved?
Yeah, it's not that vicious a sport. It's almost like a physical chess game, really, You get in there and you pick your moves carefully, and you just got to make sure, you don't get bit, Well, not really, but you know what I mean.
Well, that's Tommy Huff, Tommy the Hurricane Huff. We're sitting here live at the ringside. I'm sitting here with Tommy Huff's trainer, Lou Savaglia, here at the 13th Street Gym in Niagara Falls. And Lou, we got a couple of questions here for you. First off, what is Tommy Huff's great qualities as a fighter? What's some of the bright spots, some of the things you see good for him?
He is an intelligent fighter. He's a very smart kid. And he has the most important thing you have to have here, heart.
Now, Lou, obviously, Tommy, overall 21-5, just turned pro. Where do you see Tommy in 5 years? Is he a special talent, or is he an average boxer?
No, he's a special talent. He's one of those rare kids that come along once in a lifetime. When he first walked to the gym, I knew automatically what I could see in him, what he could do. And 5 years from now, he could be close to the top, if not to the top. And that's not a dream. It's just something you see in somebody. When you got, like I've had him for the last 6 years, every day, in and out.
Talk about a little bit about the progression of Tommy in 6 years. Obviously, we've seen some pictures of him. He's gotten bigger, obviously, and he looks a lot quicker and stronger. Tell me some of the other things that we might not know about Tommy's progression.
That's what you said was about wrapped it all up, really. No, they got the whole thing right there. But the most important thing he's picked up, which he didn't have before, was footwork. The average fighter today is footwork, and he's fought me, but I finally won out the jab. Jab's a lost art. And I always tell him he's a right-handed Willie Pep. Anybody knows Willie Pep knows how he was with that jab, and that's what his things he's picked up. Plus, he's learned how to punch stronger on top.
My last question, Lou, is obviously this. Where's Tommy's weakness? Obviously, he's still training, still, needs to get more fights. But where do you see his weakness at? What do you keep working on him with?
Most of the time, if he gets a little teed off, if the guy happens to sting him or something, he might want to go after him, and then I got to scream like crazy to calm him down. Then he's all right. But his biggest thing with me is, and he knows it, is dropping his hands. You can always hear my big mouth screaming in the corner about his hands. That's the biggest thing.
We're still here with Lou, and we thank you very much. Both Tommy Huff and Demario Quinton have a couple of things in common. They both are hardworking, they both live here in Niagara Falls, and they both are in great management hands. But it takes a little more than that to make it in the boxing ranks. You need great promotions, and you need a couple of lucky breaks. If Mike Tyson made it from Catskills, New York, I don't see why Demario Quinton or Huff can't make it as well. If all the breaks and promotions pay off, they could start their careers in Niagara Falls, but end them in Las Vegas. From Niagara Falls, New York, I'm Vic Acevedo, CC Sports.